What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Matt Moran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Moran Motoring YouTube channel. So hope you're all having a great weekend here, and thanks so much for joining in here for another live stream. So like all the usual live streams, going to go for about 2 hours, and I'll be giving priority answering to anyone who does a super chat or a super thanks, as well as anyone who's a member there with the green names and their little badges next to their names there. They will get priority answering, and if you'd like to join, become a member, and get the priority answering as well, there's always join buttons right here on the video page to join in if you'd like. But anyway, thanks to all of you who've joined in so far. So we have Brian and Kyle as far as members, and also Truck and Car Guy, Dozier, Alex, Vishal, Dylan. Thanks for joining in, everyone. And so I see the first question here from Dozier says, hey, Matt, with trucks being so popular, why doesn't Mazda or Volkswagen build and sell trucks in the U.S. for our market like they do in other parts of the world? And, you know, it's even beyond just those brands. I mean, obviously there's so many brands that do trucks in other parts of the world that don't do them here. And I mean, the problem is the chicken tax. Not sure if that's something that, you know, you're aware of, but I mean, that's part of it is, you know, any truck that isn't built in North America gets this chicken tax put on it. I think that was started in like the 70s or the 80s, and it just basically just crippled anyone else from competing with the big three. And if you wanted to compete, then you had to build in, you know, the North American area. And so that's why Toyota made the investment, Nissan made the investment. You know, large companies can make that investment, but even then it's a gamble. And the big three have had such a established record and you know, just had a head start essentially, so that newcomers like Nissan we see are failing with the Titan. You know, they made a little bit of a dent when the Titan first came out, and then it kind of just fizzled out. The Tundra, you know, still isn't even touching close to the sales volumes of all of the American brands, but it's, you know, again, it takes like an enormous company like Toyota, which is like one of the largest companies in the world car wise, to even try and compete, and even they aren't super successful. I mean, you know, they're doing better than, you know, everyone else that's tried, but you know, they still can't beat the big three. So it's tough. So whenever you're talking about trying to go up against those companies, and then the fact you need to build your own factory in North America, you know, it's just really tough. And you know, that's one of the things, like, you know, I think with the electric thing coming in, you know, these companies are making that investment for those vehicles. And so I think that could potentially open the door to more electric trucks from companies that are like, well, now we have to build in the US because of the battery stuff and all that anyway. So why not do trucks, since that's one of the biggest markets? So I think you're going to see a boom in foreign built trucks, because they're like, okay, well, now we finally don't have to worry about that. And it's all bundled together, and it's going to make a lot of sense, especially considering how popular, you know, the Maverick and the Santa Cruz are. So you know, I think that's something that will expand for sure because of the electric thing. But as far as gas stuff goes, that's why it's never really taken off here in the States. Most companies just don't want to make that investment. And let me see. So a bunch of other people joined in. I'm glad to see. Got a lot of comments here. This is awesome. And Jazz, thanks for saying hi as well. And MDKN, 2 in a row for joining for them. Thank you so much for joining in. Sounding a whole lot better there. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, back to 100% today. A little tired today because I was running around in some pretty cold weather, and the rain here at an amusement park was fun but exhausting, you know, just being out in the cold all day. So got my coffee here to perk me up a little bit, and should be good to go. Thanks for joining in. And Hunter, thanks for joining as well. He says, any news on the Cybertruck release date? I honestly don't follow Tesla news too closely because, you know, there's usually not a whole lot that's substantial aside from price changes every week. You know, but as far as Cybertruck stuff, you know, even if it does actually enter production here soon, or if it is entering production possibly, you know, it still seems like it is very rough. I mean, it seems like the fit and finish is just even worse than typical Tesla stuff. So, you know, I don't know. I will see if they actually start, you know, hitting the streets and stuff. Then I will take its release seriously. I think it's coming sooner rather than later, but you know, we'll see how that one plays out. But I don't have any info on that. Sorry, I don't have any more for you there, Hunter. Wheatman says, really loved your Mustang Mach 1 video and checked out some manual versions online. Save the manual. yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially with that manual. And glad you're checking them out there, and I'm glad you enjoyed the video. And thanks for watching it. Rafi says, "Woohoo! Hi Matt, no car wash Sunday this week." Yeah, I'm sure it's probably not the best of weather there to do a car wash unless you're in a place where the weather's nice. But it seems like at least the whole East Coast is just kind of damp and yucky this weekend here. So let me see other comments here. Try and do as many of the non-member ones as I can get to here. Vishal says, "Hey Matt, what do you think about Tesla offering factory vinyl wraps for the Model 3 and Y?" It's funny, and it's what, like $4,500 too, which maybe wrap prices have gone up since I was casually looking years and years ago, but that's, I don't know, it seems kind of crazy. The whole thing with the wraps, it's more expensive than like the upgrade paint colors. Like, why can't they make more paint colors? I don't know. I'm struggling to figure out like why they can't add more or swap more. Surely they could sacrifice one of the silvers or grays for a color. But it seems like even the wraps aren't anything that exciting. So yeah, kind of strange. I mean, it's not just Tesla. Most companies don't offer very exciting colors these days, but instead of offering anything to just like then say, oh, we're going to charge more for a vinyl wrap, which is like, I think $4,500 is like what it costs for like one of the like expensive upgrade options from Porsche, not paint to sample. That's way more, but like one of the more expensive, like expanded color palettes, I think for Porsche is like $4,500. So to do a vinyl wrap and pay as much for a Tesla, I don't know who's going to go for that. But I guess someone mentioned maybe you can bundle it into the financing. That'd be the only potential way it might make sense for some people, but even still, probably not the best idea there. And Raphael says, "I love the Mach 1 video. No offense to the Bullitt, but the Mach 1 is the Mustang I'd most want to have." I totally agree with you. It's, in my objective car reviewer mode, the Mach 1 is hands down better than the Bullitt. And if you don't care about the Steve McQueen thing, the dark green paint, or any of the other stuff about the Bullitt, definitely go for a Mach 1. If I wasn't, if it wasn't a nostalgia thing for me, totally I'd go for a Mach 1 myself. Because I actually looked after I did that review about how hard it would be to actually swap transmissions, and it seems like it's a giant pain in the butt. So not worth it. And I don't really mind the MT82 that much. The extra, gear to work with there would be really nice, but it's not worth the trouble for me, especially me being so allergic to mods these days and like not wanting to deal with any unreliability or headaches. It's definitely not worth it for me, but it's tempting. And the funny thing is too, like Mach 1s, you can get them in eruption green, which is honestly, I think, again, like being unbiased, I think I actually like eruption green better than dark Highland green because it's a little lighter. You can actually tell it's green a little more. And so it's like a eruption green Mach 1. If I like stripped all the stickers off of it and swapped grills, I could kind of have my own Bullitt, but then it wouldn't be a real Bullitt, and getting rid of a real Bullitt for a fake Bullitt just is kind of silly as well. So I'm just going to put the Mach 1 out of my brain and just move on with life. But yeah, I totally agree. Mach 1 is awesome, better than the Bullitt in every way. I'll be the first to admit that. Kyle says, "My dealer ordered a part for my exhaust due to my check engine light coming on. So far, 2 weeks and nothing. I hope this strike didn't affect parts too much." Yeah, I mean, I don't remember which part suppliers, but I know there were some part suppliers striking. So that's most likely the problem. And I'm guessing you're probably not going to see any kind of parts coming in for any of this stuff, at least as far as new inventory goes, for a while. So I don't know, if your dealer can get a part from another dealer, or if there's some other person that might be able to sell that to you, because who knows when these strikes are going to end. It seems like it's going to start getting ugly here with, they're starting to hit some of the truck plants. So I think the UAW is not messing around anymore. So this may come to an end sooner rather than later, but it could get uglier, before it gets better. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But I hope you can get your part that you need there soon. It's unfortunate that, there's all this stuff that obviously affects a lot of people already, but then the fallout of, we're just starting to see it. I mean, you're starting to see the parts affected already, but I mean, imagine the inventory of all these vehicles. It's going to be like the whole COVID thing all over again, where you're not going to have any inventory for, a couple of months because the factories were down for a month, and that has a ripple effect that'll last for a year or more, probably, in various ways. So it's going to be a headache here for, I think, a lot of 2024, even if it gets resolved quickly. And Austin says, hey, Matt, if you could build your dream garage anywhere in the US, where would it be? I mean, I really love being in Pittsburgh here. So I think, honestly, like, it would just be great to, get a piece of land nearby and just, build a dream garage here. I mean, there's a lot of really cool setups I've seen in places that are, very picturesque, or, like the Aston Martin skyscraper garages that they have in Miami or whatever. So, pretty sweet as well. But I don't even care. To me, it's about the cars inside. It'd be cool to have like a really sweet garage that, has a bunch of retro stuff in it. So I mean, I would love to dress up a garage, but for me, it'd just be awesome to even have the cars, and I don't even care what the garage looks like. The garage being cool looking would just be the cherry on top there. But it's a fun question. Thanks for asking, Austin. Let me see some other questions here, since I've caught up on the member ones, and try and get as many non-member questions as I can, but I gotta give priority answering to those members, because they do support the channel and it means a lot. So Luke, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, when it comes to foreign trucks, the CAFE credit system, I think Alex on Auto said for Chevy to have a compact truck, it would have to have 50 mpg or more. Interesting. I'm not sure why. I guess if that's just the break-even point for them as far as investment and sacrificing the plants here in North America or something, because I'm not sure otherwise why you'd need to do that. Quadrangle Singles, thank you so much for being a member for 3 months, and I really appreciate it. He said, hey Matt, can you 2024 Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray? It's a beast. Just try it today in game. Oh, as far as reviewing one, I'm guessing. I'm hoping to review one relatively soon. I didn't go on the launch event. I wasn't invited to that one again. But I'm hoping the press fleet office is going to be able to hook me up with one. It'll probably end up being sometime this winter, which will be really fun since it's all-wheel drive. And I had a blast with even a regular rear-wheel drive Corvette on snow tires in the winter a few years back. So yeah, I'm excited to try out the E-Ray sooner rather than later. Hopefully, it seems, which I'm very excited because I thought I'd be waiting a while, but it seems like they may actually be able to get that to me pretty quickly there. Let me see other questions here. So I see Rafael says, having just been through PA on my road trip, now I know there's another state with as many orange barrels as Ohio. Yeah, PA is pretty bad with its construction as well, especially depending on where you're at. But I mean, yeah, a bunch of the stuff around me this whole year has been a mess, and it's definitely annoying. But yeah, I hope you had that fun on that road trip. It's great. Ohio's bad too. What are some other states that are usually pretty bad with construction that I've been through? I mean, obviously California's always seemed like there's stuff that's messed up around LA and all that. Rafi also says, so far I was impressed with the reviews. Chevy did a good job incorporating the hybrid thing. Yeah, I'm very curious to try it out. I mean, I like the idea. I mean, I loved it with the NSX, even though very few other people did. I thought it was a great idea back then. And Chevy, almost 10 years later doing the same thing. But, with the V8 and stuff, obviously a little more exciting than the twin turbo V6. But yeah, I'm very excited to try it out. And Hugo, thanks for being a member for 5 months here. And for the comment, he says, hey, Matt, just tuned in. Any word on the Ford Taurus is apparently coming back? I'm glad sedans are slowly coming back. I don't know where everyone's hearing about the Taurus coming back. I haven't heard that. I don't think it's happening. Ford is very stubborn when they say they're done with sedans. I think they're going to dig their heels in and be really done with sedans. They build sedans in China. So you might be seeing, production vehicles that are for China. They have the Lincoln MKZ there. I think they call it something else. Maybe they call it the Zephyr there now. And they do have a new Ford. I think they call it the Taurus. They have some kind of Ford sedan over there. Maybe it's still just called the Fusion. But they have them over there because people buy them over there. No one buys sedans over here. I mean, we're seeing the threats of the Sonata potentially going away. And there's some other, and that would probably kill off the K5 too, since they're on the same platform. It's a grind for a lot of these companies where, they're starting to see that it's at least consistent, like it's probably leveling off. So it's not dropping still with the demand, but it still is just, it's just tough. There's a lot of diehard people that are definitely going to stick with their sedans as long as they possibly can. But, the trend is still going, everyone upgrading to an SUV. And especially just, with the culture right now of everyone wanting to get outdoors and everyone, liking to have extra ground clearance whenever they're going through gravel parking lots. For most of these parks, very few people actually need the off-road capability, but it's a mental thing that makes people feel better. And so, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think there's any new Taurus coming back. A Taurus would be great, but I haven't heard any credible info about that. There's a lot of clickbait stuff out there that gets put out, so it might be something like that that's making the rounds. But I haven't heard any real legit reports. I could be out of the loop, and maybe I missed something. But as far as I've heard, there's no Taurus coming back. I wish there was, but I don't think there is, unfortunately. Let me see. So other questions here, trying to get to some other ones here. Alexander says, lost my membership and can't find a link to rejoin. There's also a link in the description of this video. So if you click the description of this video, there's a link right there to join. Anyone else also, if you want to join, that's another way to do it, even if there's no button that you're seeing. It's always in the description. And that should work unless there's some kind of glitch going on or anything like that. Harris, thanks so much for being a member for 7 months here. I really appreciate it. He said, excited to watch this. Hope everyone is doing well. Thanks for stopping in, Harris. Hope you're doing well too. Let me see. Cars and Relevant Specs says, hi, Matt. I loved your recent video about the new tires for your Mustang. Any plans for doing more tire review or comparison videos? Thanks, Jared. Thanks for the question, Jared. As far as that goes, I mean, that video didn't do well. So that sends a clear signal to me that either people aren't interested in the Bullitt or they aren't interested in tires or both. It seems like it did worse than the average Bullitt video, which makes me think people just don't like tire videos. Or some people thought it was a sponsored video, or they don't care about tires. So I am committed to doing like a multi-part series on the tires. So I will be doing a follow-up video of what it's like to drive them in the winter. And I mean, I'm not going to do any like dedicated snow testing, but I'm just gonna be like, hey, here's what it was like to live with, a rear-wheel drive car on all-season tires in the wintertime. I'm going to do that. I'll do one last video probably in the summer or spring of what it's like to drive it on, dry, temps and push them a little bit more once they're fully broken in and stuff. So I'm doing 2 more videos on the tires, but only because I told Continental that was my plan, and I'm going to stick to that and, be true to my word for them. But if it were me, just based on that first video, yeah, I'm never covering tires again on this channel, unfortunately. I'm glad you liked it. And, about maybe 3,000 other people did, and that was it, which is just a complete waste of time for me, unfortunately. Obviously, reviewing the tires, I got the tires for free. So that, makes it worthwhile a little bit more too. But from a video standpoint, not a good choice for me to do that. And as far as other comparison videos in the future, not with tires. Comparison videos is something, that a lot of people have requested as far as reviews. That's also tough to do just because of scheduling typically, but that's something I try and do if I have an opportunity, but it's usually tough. Raphael says, I'll stick to sedans, better driving feel than an SUV. I sit lower and I don't need all-wheel drive. 38 years in the snow belt, and I've never been stuck in the snow with front-wheel drive. Yeah, it's, especially front-wheel drive with snow tires is a whole lot better than most people realize. And, if you put snow tires on anything, you're basically going to be safer, at least as far as braking and turning goes, compared to, around here, every single person goes and buys a Subaru CrossTrek or something with all-season tires and thinks they're invincible in the snow. And then you see half of them in ditches, the first snowfall we get, because everyone, doesn't understand. They think all-wheel drive means you're in a tank or something with, tank tread. And it's like, nope, like you're on all-season tires. Great. You can climb that hill, but you can't stop and you can't turn. Good luck. Obviously all-season tires are okay, but people just drive beyond their car's capabilities, their tires' capabilities, and their capabilities. And it's always a new phenomenon every year. Because again, more and more people are going from front-wheel drive sedans into something all-wheel drive or something crossover like that's, marketed as being this great outdoorsy vehicle. And it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to, not have a great time. So it's always interesting to watch. But Tom, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, I was browsing cars like I normally do and found lots of brand new 2023 and 2024 Honda Accords and Civics with $2,000 off sticker. I saw a Civic for 23. That's good to see. Their sales have been enormously growing this year just because last year was terrible for them. But I've heard that the inventory is getting a lot better, and I'm glad to see that maybe the inventory is getting so good that now they're having a little bit too much and they're offering discounts, which would be great to see. I'm honestly shocked because I feel like these Honda dealers were some of the worst with markups, and I figured maybe they wouldn't want to back off of those, and they just like quit ordering cars and be like, oh, we have one Civic, you got to pay 35 grand for it, and just keep doing that forever because that's probably the more profitable way to do it. But I'm glad to see the discounts. I haven't heard about Honda doing discounts yet, so you're the first to tell me that. So thanks for the info, Tom. It's very, very good to hear that. So I appreciate you filling me in there. And let me get back to the other member questions I don't want to miss here. So Austin says, hey, Matt, do you have a Hot Wheels or Matchbox car collection aside from the ones on the shelf behind you? I do. I actually have a whole little like rolling carrier of Hot Wheels cars that I kept from whenever I was a kid. And now I'm able to share those with my daughter, and she loves playing with them. And so it's really, really cool. And it was also fun for me to rediscover them. And just it reminded me of so many of the fun like Mopar concept cars from the 90s that I had as Hot Wheels and stuff. Just so much fun stuff. And yeah, I got a whole big collection of them, and I loved collecting them as a kid. And I'm sure many of you have a similar story. I'm sure it's just so it was great. They're nice and cheap. You can still have like a collection, and it was fun. Hugo says, I'm always going to like your videos, support 100%. I appreciate it, Hugo. Thanks so much. And Steve says, how did the last TLX video do? I do enjoy the older cars. The TLX review that I did, about a week and a half ago or so, that's done okay. It hasn't been amazing, but hilariously, it's doing better than the Mach 1 video, which is another classic example of how like it's always a guessing game. I thought for sure the Mach 1 video would do super well. And then, what is it? Like a 7-year-old TLX, a brown, 7-year-old sedan does better than a awesome new Mach 1 that I'm super giddy and excited over. So that just goes to show how like, I can do videos for those of you who watch, regularly and are big fans. I know most of you probably enjoyed the Mach 1, for example, more than that. But again, going for that mass appeal, this is another example of how, if I just do videos that I want to make, it's not going to be as good for the channel. I have to go for that mass appeal, unfortunately, at times. And I mean, the TLX was, interesting to drive. I'm always curious to drive anything because I'm always like, I wonder what that's like to drive. And then you drive it and then you kind of, check that box. I'm like, okay, now I know what that's like. So I always enjoy driving anything. So I'm not complaining, but it's just kind of backwards in my mind, but again, I'm having to just rewire myself for, not what I want to do, not what most of you want to see, but what is the other 440,000 people, and then they're subscribed that don't ever watch anything, and then also beyond that, the other millions of people out there that YouTube pushes the video to, what do they want to see? And that's the tricky thing, because if it was just worrying about the 1,000 of you that always watch whatever, it's pretty easy to, I know what you guys like. You've told me what you want to see. That's easy. It's just, that only takes the channel so far, and it's very limiting, unfortunately. So, and Hunter's mentioning how the Impala SS video blew up, and that was another one that like 10 grand car. I'm like, well, it's got a V8, maybe it'll do well. And then biggest hit of the year for me. It's not none of the crazy stuff that I've done, none of the super expensive high-end stuff. And I even had a commenter give me crap on the TLX video, like, "Whoa, like you must be desperate to review cars. You're driving some 7-year-old Acura." It's like, nope, like that 7-year-old Acura is doing better than like the awesome stuff. So like, it's just kind of funny how the channel is, and it's just it's something I still 11 years later doing car reviews still struggle to wrap my head around. And this is why I've talked to like Roman from TFL. His big thing is just throw stuff at the wall. You'll never know what's going to stick. You never can really predict for the most part. I mean, there's a few things that are pretty safe bets, but most of the time it's just put out content. He says, instead of trying to do one awesome video and obsess over one amazing video, put out 10 okay videos, and chances are one of them will do awesome anyway. And, instead of trying to pull your hair out, trying to make the best video ever, because any YouTuber can tell you most of the time the videos you work the hardest on are the ones that are the worst for views. People just, there's some disconnect there, and the stuff that myself and others have just put up and like, oh, no one's going to watch this. 150,000 views in a week or whatever. So it's very, very bizarre. But thanks for asking about the TLX. Yeah, just didn't really do super well, but again, better than the Mach 1. So not a waste of time or anything. And the thing with the older reviews too is they might not catch fire immediately, but they're videos that have staying power. And I look at the videos that I've done, if it's like an it car that's hot, like the Bronco, if you did a Bronco video, the first year the Bronco came out, tons of views. Now, if anyone posts any Bronco content, nobody cares. It just goes nowhere. And so stuff like the TLX, that's like a good used value. People are always searching for those. And I use Google Trends a lot. That's one of the behind the scenes things is I look at, if you go to Google Trends, it'll tell you here's the search volume. And I look up all the cars I'm considering reviewing. And I see, what are people searching all through the year? Not just like today, but what have people been searching this entire year? Is there sustained interest in this car? And if so, then that means that people are going to be looking for that review. And it might not make me, $1 million today, but it might, over the next 5 years end up making a few $1,000 or something. And that's kind of, the goal for me is just making this sustainable and having that evergreen content kind of carry me through the ups and downs of videos succeeding, not succeeding, or whatever. If you have that base, that's kind of one of the things I've really focused on this whole time. But anyway, little tangent there, but it's obviously something. Doing this is my job. I'm very passionate about figuring that stuff out. And MDKN, thanks for being a member for 18 months now. It blows me away so much. We're getting close. I think March is when I started doing the memberships a year and a half ago. So I'm gonna have to come up with some new badges here once we hit the 2-year mark for some of you, and have to try and come up with something a little more exciting for the badge there to honor the awesome support of many of you for well over a year now. I really, really appreciate it. And it's just happy to be a member for this long. Halloween is going to be crazy for my Kona, aka Kraken. Nice. That'll be fun. It's there's someone around here that has a Prius C that's orange, and every year they put they make it look like a giant pumpkin essentially with a orange stem on the top and everything, and they can really go for it. It's always fun to see. Anyway, getting up to the other member questions here. I don't want to get too far behind. I definitely have gotten behind. I apologize. Let me see. So Hunter, talking about the SS video doing well. Kyle says, I did enjoy the tire review. Always good to see someone's take on all seasons, especially with a rear-wheel drive vehicle. I'm glad you liked it as well, Kyle. Hugo says, I'll help you do a comparison video. I'm willing to do the drive. I appreciate the offer. It's really about just coming up with the cars. Comparisons really are most popular whenever we're talking about new vehicles that have just come out, and seeing how the new thing compares to the biggest seller in the segment, things like that. And that's where it's tough to get 2 cars scheduled at the same time, especially if they're from the same company or from company. There's a few different fleet companies, and if the fleet company that does Toyotas, they also do Hondas. So I usually can't book a Toyota and Honda at the same time because I can get one vehicle from that fleet each week. So there's some things like that kind of hold me up from doing some of those comparisons. And Daniel says, have you considered starting a second channel for the weekly updates? I'm here for them, but I know some people only watch the reviews. Maybe it would help the algorithm to move them. That's a valid point. I've gone back and forth about, whether that would be a good idea. And the thing about doing that as a second channel, from what I've seen from the YouTube algorithm people, the actual employees that are building the algorithm, when people ask, when to do a second channel, their general advice is if it is the same, niche, then keep it all on that channel. If it's different niches, then split it off. And so, if it's something wildly different, if I wanted to do a whiskey review channel or something like that, that would be definitely something to split off. But since the car news is in the same vein as car reviews, and there's a lot of overlap there, and we're still talking about cars and new cars most often as well. It's not like one's a project car channel and that's a different type of thing. It's all kind of in the same auto industry stuff. People that are interested in car news are probably interested in what the new cars coming out are like as far as reviews. So I feel like there's enough overlap there, and it works for Kirk Kreifels. I mean, he does everything all in one channel as well. and his channel is growing faster than mine is, so I feel like that's not holding them back. I could be wrong. It's also, the thing about starting a second channel is it's always scary because you're starting with, again, 0 followers. I mean, obviously there'd be some people that would, automatically subscribe to a new channel, but you have no monetization for, a few weeks until you build up, the amount of views and all that and the watch time. Cause I think they've lowered the standards at YouTube, but it's still not super high. And it's also when you have, 445,000 subscribed people, whether or not they actually see it, because the algorithm doesn't really care about subscriptions much anymore, but it at least gives me a little bit of a head start with something still car related. So I feel like keeping it all on the one channel is the right thing to do. I could certainly be convinced to go the other way if, I had, more compelling evidence, but from everything I've seen, and I've looked into it a lot, it seems like keeping it on the same channel is the way to go. I think that if we want to get into the problems with the weekly update, I think that the bottom line problem with that is that if you're not doing it daily or doing it as soon as the news hits, news ages really fast. And a lot of people that do care about car news, they've already heard about the stuff that I'm talking about by the time we get to Friday and I'm talking about it. So it's only people that either don't like staying up on that stuff all week and they like just getting the download once a week from me and not having to follow that stuff, or they just are curious to hear my thoughts on the news. But I think that's really the limiting factor. I think really what it would take for the weekly updates to be the ultimate, success level that they could get to, it would require me stopping doing reviews or somehow outsourcing the reviews or the editing so that I had enough free time basically to just jump on any news trend the second that it hit and cover it first and put that out there immediately. And I try and do a little bit of that with the embargoed stuff if I have a heads up ahead of time, like I did the Cadillac CT5 thing and a few of the auto show things, that kind of stuff. If I can, get ahead of it and I know it's coming before the news breaks, I can work on it ahead of time when I have a little bit of free time. Then I can do those types, but that's very limited. I don't get a lot of that, ahead of time embargo stuff, but that's really the only time I can ever do that. So that's really the tough thing, is just trying to balance everything together. So yeah, I think, someday it'd be nice to be able to afford to hire an editor, and then maybe that would free up some time to jump on more of the news topics right away. Yeah, I think that's really what it takes. Is I would have to just get rid of the weekly thing and just post news as it's happening, throw out the whole weekly update idea, and just do news topic videos like Kirk does. I think he's doing it the better way, and that's why I think he's having more success with the car news than I am. And it makes total sense. It's just, again, my hands are kind of tied, and I know so many of you really like the end of the week thing, and that's like a weekly ritual for so many people, and I don't want to mess with that. But if I'm just going off of what would be best for the channel, honestly, the news stuff is very, it flares up and then it just completely dies. And like the weekly updates, after the first week, maybe 2 weeks, no one ever watches them again. And it doesn't have that evergreen quality like I was talking about with the review. So really, to really help the channel the most, I should quit the weekly updates immediately and just do an extra car review every week. And over time, that would definitely lift the channel more and just be better overall from a profit standpoint, from a time use standpoint. It would just be way smarter to just not do the weekly updates, but I enjoy doing them. I'm fascinated about, all the news coming out every week. I know many of you love doing those, watching those videos and stuff. So that's why I keep doing them. But and the other YouTubers I've talked to and stuff, I mean, like the clear and obvious answer is just to stop doing them from, as far as the pros and cons. There's more cons than pros when you look at it overall, but it's just, again, something that I'm going to keep doing as long as I can. It may get to a point where I can't justify it anymore. But yeah, that's kind of the whole unpacking of the weekly update situation currently. But I appreciate the suggestion, that Daniel, and I think it's just really having to just put more time into it. And sorry again for the long tangent. I'm going to be so behind on comments here, but I appreciate the question there. And Rafi says, local dealerships near me have accessories, no markups, but $1,000 for tints is crazy. These dealers have really gotten creative with the way they're ripping people off these days. Hunter says, speaking of snow, I see more and more people buying trucks up here in PA for winter, but most of the accidents I see in the snow are trucks. Yeah, and that's another funny thing is, trucks really aren't that great in snow many times. I mean, I've had, press vehicles, trucks. I mean, a lot of people, they're not going to drive around in 4 high most of the time. So realistically, you're driving around with a 2-wheel drive truck unless, you have enough snow on the ground to not ruin the diffs whenever you're going around turns and stuff. So it's trucks aren't the easiest from a user-friendly standpoint as far as, consumers that, aren't going to be thinking about that kind of stuff. It's kind of a tricky thing. And even like there's been times where I've had a truck in the winter. I'm like, do I do 2-wheel drive? Do I put it in 4 high? How much slip do I need to have in order to not have the diff speed chattering whenever I'm going around a tight corner and stuff. It's something that I guess is a learning curve. It's something I haven't gotten super good at deciding on myself, honestly. And Rafi says the Type R on the lot was asking 72 grand. Yeah, so see, clearly there's a lot of Honda dealers that are still smoking crack, unfortunately. Hunter says that's wild. I wouldn't even pay 72 for an Integra. Yeah, you shouldn't pay over a sticker for anything, in my opinion, still. Let me see here. Oh, sorry, I missed Kyle. Thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships there. I really appreciate the generosity there. I'm sure many others also appreciate that. And Kyle also says, I like the routines, so the Friday news videos I love, just me. Yeah, and I know so many, I see SLMD and others saying they love them as well. I don't want to miss, I apologize, Volvo Engineer, I missed your super chat here. It says, thoughts on the upcoming Volvo EX30 and EX90? I'm very excited for both of them. I love the headlights on the EX90. I think they are probably the coolest headlights possibly ever in a car. They literally look like Iron Man's suit or something. They slide away. EX30 is amazing. I mean, 3.4 seconds 0 to 60 for a little crossover that no one would ever suspect. I almost want to just buy an EX30, just go to the drag strip and just hustle everybody whenever it comes out. Just like, oh yeah, I just got this new little crossover. Figured I'd just, see how fast I can go down the drag strip and then just take everyone to the cleaners. It would be so fun. Just travel around so that people won't know who you are and just hit a different drag strip every weekend and just, get every unsuspecting person you can and just make a killing. Probably that car would pay for itself just lining up at the drag strip every Friday night. But anyway, I love the EX30. The problem with that one is no gauge cluster. That's the one thing that irks me about that vehicle. Otherwise, I would say it's basically a perfect little crossover. And honestly, I'd even consider swapping the Mach E for it that we have. The EX30 might be a little small for us, but I really love it that much. If it had a gauge cluster, it would be in the running for sure. EX90 is great. It's just, that's another one I'd love personally, but they're going to be way out of my budget. But I think they're going to be really promising vehicles. I think especially the EX30 is going to be a super hot seller. I think in the last live stream, someone who works at a Volvo dealer said the interest has been insane for those. And if they do actually manage to keep up with the demand or get close to keeping up with demand and not managing to annoy and piss off half the people that have orders in for them, I think the EX30 is going to be an enormous hit if they play it right. EX90, I think, will be great too. But thank you so much once again for the super chat there, Volvo. All right, I'm going to try and get caught up on these member questions here. So I'm going to try and go a little quicker here. Hugo says, Apple Ford Lincoln in Maryland has a Ranger Raptor for MSRP of 59 grand. They're asking for 75. I didn't know the Ranger Raptors were already hitting lots. That's interesting because they still have not done a media drive for that. So many companies are behind on that. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But he says, ridiculous at that price. Might as well get a full-size used Raptor. Yeah, or anything else. I mean, yeah, 75 grand can almost get you a TRX. It's crazy. I don't know what's wrong with these dealers. Austin says it might be due to the older used cars actually being somewhat attainable. The new stuff is so out of the reach for many enthusiasts. Yeah, that's definitely part of it as well. And that's part of the motivation for why I've been wanting to review that stuff. The cheaper, the better. As long as it's mildly interesting, I think it'll be great. Because again, yeah, it's stuff that people not only can afford stuff people can't get anymore. I've heard so many comments from people being like, oh, I'm sad the TLX doesn't come with a V6 anymore. There you go. Here's your V6 TLX obviously you have to be okay with going for an older one, but there's a lot of that stuff too. And I think that's going to keep driving the popularity of the used reviews eventually, as people being like, hey, look, remember when you could get this vehicle with a V6 or a V8 or with, a sedan or, whatever the case might be. So I think, there's a lot of value there too. So I think, yeah, hopefully that'll all help those older reviews to do well. And it's just something that also no one else is really covering very much. So I think that's also going to, really just help things in the long run, hopefully, to help me differentiate myself from everyone else, since I'm clearly not competing very well with most of the other big shots out there that do reviews. Let me see. So Raphael says, hearing that it's impossible to decide which reviews will do well. Yep, that is my daily dilemma. Austin says, some people have short attention spans as well. Maybe more short form videos will do better. Short form could do better. And YouTube definitely is trying to push everyone into doing short form. The thing is, short form pays nothing. Like, it is almost insulting how little it pays. Short form stuff is fine if you're not doing this full time like I am, or even if you're not doing it for any kind of income, if it's just for fun, which I think is great. That's TikTok has really democratized video content, so it's just people just casually doing it. There's no production value there for most of it. There's no editing involved. It's just like reaction videos and just random little talking videos. There's no effort there, and so I think for that stuff it's fine to not get paid, I guess. But when you're trying to do stuff that makes money, it's just short form is just a complete waste of time for me. And even though like some people have shown that like it can help them grow their subscriber count, those subscribers are subscribing for your short form stuff most of the time. Maybe a few people will be like, oh, hey, wait, he actually does 30-minute car reviews. I want to see that too. But most of those shorts people, they want to see short stuff. And so it's you're building a separate fan base. It's nice window dressing, for lack of a better term, of like, hey, look, my views have gone up and look, I'm getting more subscribers. But is that actually making you any more money? Is it actually advancing your channel? No, like in my opinion, it's not. Again, unless you want to do only short stuff and you're okay, making $30 for 1 million views, then great. But if not, it's just like a complete waste of time for anyone doing this as their actual job. And maybe someday that'll change, but for now, it's just it can't. It's just there's no way to do good ad placements with shorts. There's a lot of limiting factors there. And let me see here. So Hunter says, what new car is coming out in late 2023 and early 2024 are you most excited for? I'm not sure the exact timeline, but I would say the two that like really are in the forefront of my mind going into next year are the Hyundai Ioniq 5N and the Charger EV, whatever that ends up becoming. But those two, having the fake exhaust notes and the paddle shifting and an EV and all that, it's new territory. That's like, for a reviewer, it's like, hey, this is something different. This isn't just a faster gas powered thing, or this isn't just another electric thing. It's, hey, look, engineers got a little creative. They're thinking outside of the box. They're doing new things. They're trying different things. And so for someone who does this as my job, that's the most exciting stuff for me, is like, hey, look, this is a new frontier and people are tackling it in different ways. And it's very, interesting to watch that evolve and progress. So that's, I think, the two that I'm most excited to try out. As far as other vehicles that I'm excited about, I'd say honestly those are probably my top two. And I don't want to spend too much time trying to think of other stuff here, but I'd say those are probably the top two. Let me see. SLMD says, hey, Matt, I was thinking, what are your thoughts on the Kia Sportage, particularly the SX Prestige trim? Sportage is great. I just reviewed I think it was an SX Prestige. I just did a Sportage the beginning of this year, I think it was. And I like the Sportage a lot. I think it's really one of the best ones in its segment. It's really comfortable. It drives great. Some of the best tech in the segment as well. I like the Sportage a lot, so I think it's a solid pick for sure. And let me see. Raphael says, I don't think you've ever asked us. I prefer the weekly update so that I can catch up on the week's news without having to check on things every single day. Yeah, and I've heard that from a lot of other people. I have done a few polls, I think, in the past a while back as far as why people like the weekly updates or what they appreciate the most about them. And I've heard that from a lot of people actually, is that they don't want to have to sit there and be sitting on some social media platform seeing what's coming out, or going to car websites to see something every day. And Instagram does a good job of there's a few pages there that do news pretty well, but a lot of people, just you don't have to worry about it. You just cover it all on Friday, and you're not having to be on the edge of your seat about what the newest thing is every day. Then I think that's great. And I'm happy to be that for people. It's again just trying to figure out when it quits making sense. How little views can the videos get? I mean, recently they've been actually doing pretty well because it has Subaru in the headline. Interestingly enough, that still is always like a guarantee to help those videos. But we'll just see how things end up playing out there. But Austin says maybe move the weekly updates to Sunday live streams and then open up to questions would really provide a lot of content for questions. Definitely. I mean, although there's no shortage of questions here, obviously I can't even get to non-member questions most of the time. But yeah, I've thought about that. I think we discussed that in a live stream a couple of months back about maybe doing that and maybe having a fancier live stream where I can actually have like picture-in-picture stuff and make it a little more interactive. The problem with that is it'd probably be tough to cover everything and also answer all the questions, because I'm literally just doing nothing but answering questions here, and I still don't get all the questions answered, or even, like I said, any of the non-member ones most of the time. So I feel like I just would get way far behind. And I know, like Beth watches some other live streams from some of these other content creators that like don't even like acknowledge super chats. And it's like mind blowing to me. These like creators just like raking in hundreds of dollars in minutes, and they don't even say thank you to these people. It's like crazy. So like, I don't want to ignore any more people than I already have to, just because again, I can't get caught up on all the questions. And so I feel like bundling too much in would just be, I feel like it would just basically just be me doing a live weekly update, and I would just have to ignore half the questions, which I don't want to do. That's the only thing about that. It's honestly like something like that would work great if I had less viewers, but there's just so many questions, and I want to be able to get to as many as I can. It's an interesting idea though, and I think it could be a fun thing to try. I think it would just end up being me just talking and ignoring most of the questions, which I don't want to do. And I see MDK says, yeah, I love the weekly updates. A lot of the stories you cover I didn't hear about, and I'm glad that you enjoy them as well. And I know, so many people do. 3.4-second Volvo would make so many people mad. Yeah, it's gonna be wild when those things come out. He says, I feel like Volvo is gonna underestimate the demand of the EX30. Probably, but I mean, it sounds like it's been pretty vocal with the support for that vehicle. So I think the problem with Volvo is just being production capped. They've never had a huge hit, and they've never had to try and like race to keep up with demand really. And so I feel like that's going to be the problem, is that they just, even if they, ramped it up to 110% capacity, like you're talking about small Volvo plants that never build very much of anything. So it's like, are they actually going to be able to churn anything out? I think that's going to be the biggest problem. And we've seen how that's backfired. Even Ford can't even build Mavericks fast enough. And how many people are walking away from Maverick orders and stuff because they're just so tired of waiting for over a year, especially Americans that are used to, going onto their lot, and grabbing one in whatever color they feel like, and walking away 3 hours later. And it's, very little effort. So we will see. Like I said, I hope Volvo plays it well, but I'm biting my nails for Volvo on that one. Mike says, Matt, just curious. I know I've asked before, but no Blazer press drive. Still no Blazer press drive. I don't know what's going on there. Chevy hasn't filled me in. I've asked, haven't gotten a response. So I don't know. And it's all the other journalists are confused too, because they're on dealer lots, the Blazers now. And there's been a few people that have done videos on just like dealer lot vehicles, but it's really unordinary for car companies to be this far behind the ball. Sometimes like Honda and a few others, they like are doing the press drive as cars are hitting lots, or maybe the cars were on the lots for like a week or two before. But this is like really out of the ordinary. I think there's some real turmoil behind the scenes with all the GM EV stuff. I mean, last year, like they built, I don't know, a few thousand Hummers, and this year I think they said they've built like 500, maybe. That might even be high. They're like, I don't know what. I think it's just the supplies, the battery supplies, the materials they just can't get, and it's like really bad. I don't know. Like it's like it seemed like it was fine last year, and then this year, like they can't build them, any of them. The Lyric, nothing. Like it's kind of bizarre. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Blazer. Yeah, I'm hoping to drive one at some point, but I even, was just talking with the person that's providing me with, like I said, hopefully the E-Ray soon. And I'm actually going to be getting a Lyric all-wheel drive finally soon, but still it's radio silence for the Blazer. So I don't know. We'll have to see. And let me see other member questions here. So Fook says, hey, sorry I'm late. Hope everyone's having fun. Thanks for joining in, Fook. Steve says, thoughts on the Volkswagen ID.7? Do you think that's going to do well or flop like the Arteon? I think the ID.7, did they come out with pricing for that? If they did, I don't remember it. I don't think they have yet. I think ID.7 could do well if they can come in close to Tesla pricing, which is really going to be tough to do. And now that there's a fresh Model 3, I don't know. I feel like, it'll have a home in the, a few people who don't like the Tesla and don't like the way the Ioniq 6 looks, but the Ioniq 6 charges so much faster that you'd be crazy to get an ID.7 over a Ioniq 6 unless you just hate the styling or something else about Hyundai that bothers you. But ID.7 is going to have an uphill battle in my mind, with those two being pretty much unbeatable. And from what I've seen from the Volkswagen specs wise, it's not going to compare very well to those two. So that's the problem, I think. So unfortunately, I think it may flop. Maybe not as bad as the Arteon, but I feel like it's not going to do super well potentially. I wish them all the best, but that's my I guess there as far as how that may do. Austin says, I didn't mean TikTok length, short form videos, maybe just cut the full length stuff down a little. I like them, but some people really do suffer from ADHD. Gotcha. Sorry for the misunderstanding. Yeah, I am trying to get the views or the reviews down to a shorter length for sure. I've been really, really trying to keep them away from the 30-minute mark. And I think I've done a pretty good job of keeping them closer to the 20-minute mark, or 23 minutes or so. So I'm really trying to cut it down. And that's another area where I have to make videos that other people want to see, not what I want to see. Like if I make a video I want to see, I want to go really in depth. I want to really nerd out on all the details and nerd out on the interior and all this, but I know most people don't care. So it's really trying to, again, take myself out of my shoes and be like, okay, what is something I don't need to talk about? What is something people don't actually care that much about? And that's I think one of the easiest cuts for me has been like the handling section of the videos, especially if it's not a sports car. If I'm talking about a crossover, like I spend like a minute talking about handling, if that, and that's it. It's like, hey, look, this doesn't flip over. It's fine. It's not bad. The end. And I need to just leave it at that instead of really trying to dissect it and stuff, because no one cares that much. So I think there's definitely some ways that I'm learning to self-edit myself and limit what I say, just to try and do those types of things and just really cut down the length on some of those. Because I agree. And even myself, I'm very busy. I don't have time to watch YouTube most of the time either. And when I do, guess what videos I'm watching? I'm watching the videos that are less than 10 minutes long. So I don't blame anyone for seeing my 23-minute car review and being like, nope, don't have time for that. So I totally get that. It's just, I couldn't do a good video in less than 10 minutes. That I would just have to gloss over so much stuff. So that's why I'm trying to get them down and just seeing, how much I can cut and still be okay with the video and the information I'm providing, So that's still something I'm continuing to work at, but I totally agree. I need to try and get the length down, as much as I possibly can. Under 20 minutes is the goal currently. But that's usually pretty tough to hit most of the time, especially if it's a new vehicle with a bunch of technology and infotainment systems to cover and all that stuff. That's really what makes it tough. If it's these older vehicles like the Impala, it's like, hey, look, there's a radio, the end. Like, it's easy, versus, oh, you got 15 different user interfaces and 15 drive modes. And, it's all this other crap to talk about. And it's ballooned the video's length because it's just all these cars have so much crap in them these days. Let me see other questions here. Wheatman says the weekly update makes my Friday. The big question is, will the whiskey make an appearance? Yeah, and it seems like the bet is, these days it's a safe bet that it will make an appearance with how many cars are getting killed off or bizarre vehicles are being made. Strange choices from car companies, all that kind of stuff. Sean says, Matt, you should switch to reaction content. Don't know how those creators get so many views. Yeah, it's an easy way to go about it. And the reaction stuff, if you are, again, trying to monetize, does get a little sketchy because there's fair use legally as far as like how much of the video can you react to for it to actually be your original content versus you just, like saying hi and then playing someone else's popular video. It's like, how much do you have to put in there? It's kind of a fine line to straddle there. And, I feel like a lot of those end up probably getting demonetized, or the original creators going after these people for, if you don't have enough reaction, it's very, very weedy. So I don't even, it probably would make sense to try and, capitalize on, but I like doing, I like doing what I'm doing. Trenton says, what's the most fun car you have drove under 60 grand? That is really tough. Most fun under 60. I'm assuming you mean new car under 60. Because if we're talking used and you're opening it up to anything from all of time that's under 60 grand currently, I don't know. But as far as new stuff, recently under 60, I'd say that the highlights, especially from this year, I really love the GR Corolla. I think the GR Corolla really pulled on my heartstrings. Again, being a Subaru WRX fan originally, the boosty nature of that thing, the adjustable diff, just like the old STIs. It just ticked all the boxes for me and really brought back the Subaru WRX fan in me that I thought was kind of like in the past. Honestly, it was kind of wild driving that car and being like, this is like what it would be like with a new STI. And I could actually really get giddy about this and still be a huge fan of this kind of stuff if companies actually did this. But it's like only Toyota is really doing that. I mean, I love the Civic Type R. That's another really highlight of this year. Again, under 60, as long as you find a dealer that's not insane. Integra Type S, same thing there. Super Manual is another one there that's just barely under 60, but, is another one that's a highlight. I'd say those are probably the top ones. I might be missing one or two, but I think those are probably the top things recently under 60 that I really loved. I think GR Corolla is probably close to taking the crown there. Let me see. Raphael says the Arteon is unfortunate. It's really not a bad car, just not priced well for the competition. Absolutely. It's a great car. It's so nice, so comfortable, but just, they just made it way too expensive, especially with the Stinger. And Luke says you should give TikTok lives or videos a try if you haven't. I think it would bring a ton of exposure over to YouTube. It seems way easier to get viewers on TikTok than other platforms. Definitely, I agree. And doing live stuff could potentially work. The problem for me with TikTok is that TikTok doesn't like you moving in a car. So I've posted like my reactions on TikTok a little bit. I do have a TikTok channel. Someone took the actual Matt Moran motoring name for some dumb reason. So mine's like Matt Moran _ motoring, but I like almost never go on it. But I tried for a while. They're just reposting a bunch of my Instagram reels. And if you're moving in a car, like TikTok just kills it because it's dangerous behavior. And so that would limit me because that's my whole thing is my reactions. So it would have to just be me copying everyone else, just being like, hey, let's just point at stuff for 30 seconds and that being it. So, there's enough of that out there that I don't need to contribute to that. So I'm just like, alive, maybe like doing this on TikTok or something, could be interesting because I know I've heard that their search and discovery feature is really good at getting you out there to new audiences. It just, I'd have to figure out like how to approach that. A live is a good idea. or just some kind of other video content that isn't moving in a vehicle and isn't just pointing at stuff. So yeah, that's the dilemma. But something I should probably sit down and think about more whenever I get a chance, maybe sometime over the winter here. And Luke, thank you so much for the super chat. He says GR Corolla engine in a BRZ or 86. And that's, some of the rumors have been suggesting, and man, that would be exciting. That would be very exciting for me personally. Yes, I would be, as you see, I'm already getting giddy just thinking about that. So yes, that'd be wonderful. And let me see. So other questions. Steve says, I think the Arteon is priced right for what you get. It's a Volkswagen, but no one wants to pay or buy 50 grand Volkswagen sedan. They buy an A5 Sportback. Absolutely. And it's basically like a budget A5 Sportback, but it's just not that much cheaper. That is the problem. And Austin says, an idea for a second channel might be a deep dive into car history, something like my old car channel, complete with vintage car commercials. You could just make them on the side at your own pace. That'd be awesome. And I actually do have a second channel, I guess, called Vintage Car Fan. And I think I still actually have it in my recommended channels on this homepage here for this channel. I haven't touched that channel in probably 4 years now. I did just basic walk around videos on classics, and I thought that was, again, separate enough that could be something worth doing on a second channel. It's just one of those things I didn't have time to do those recently, and just is so overloaded with just doing this channel that that just got thrown to the wayside there. But that'd be something I'd love to do more of. That's just, again, a time thing. I have all kinds of ideas for extra channels that I would love to do if I had the time. I could barely keep up with this one. So doing anything more is just unthinkable for me, unfortunately. Maybe someday. I got lots of ideas, just no time to execute, unfortunately. And Mike says, I saw the weekly update and heard everything you said, but I still don't understand why all the EGMP vehicles can't be 800 volt. If you can do it with EV6 and Ioniq 5, why not with subcompact, cheaper cars? I guess it's just, the price difference, but yeah, I don't understand how it could be that much of a savings, because you look at, Kona EV, or you look at, any of that stuff that they have done that's on those same platforms, and it's still expensive. Kona EVs, even the old generation, is still expensive, and it's still like hard to even justify that over just going and getting an Ioniq 5. So, these new things coming out, I'm sure are probably not going to be much cheaper. And yeah, 400 volts is just like, why won't everyone just go buy the stuff that's currently on the lots? I don't know if there's a good reason. I'm sure there's a good reason behind the scenes. I don't get it though, personally. And it makes no sense to me either. Hopefully it'll become clear to us eventually. And Hunter says, I love the Audi reviews. Do you ever try to review BMWs? I think I heard before they don't do press vehicles. They do press vehicles, just not for me, because I'm far from the press fleet office. And so BMW and JLR and Bentley and maybe one or two others don't send me vehicles because I'm too far, supposedly. But there may be some progress there. I've actually made some inroads to possibly line up BMWs potentially. So we will see, but that's been the problem, is just getting my hands on them is really tough. I will actually I'm going to also be trying to do some more used BMWs. Especially I think like the off lease stuff is going to be, hopefully worthwhile to do. And that's actually, I didn't tell the members yet, but I won't say everything since I want to keep that exclusive to the members, but I'm going to be posting a video tomorrow that is going to be a used BMW that I'll be posting up. I'm going to try and just cover them that way. But as far as the brand new stuff, I'm hoping to make some inroads there to get some new ones. But yeah, I can't get my hands on them. Raphael says, sorry to staying up late tonight for him. Start trading 2 new techs tomorrow. Have a good week. Thanks for joining in, Raphael. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with the training there for them, and hope it goes well, and hope you have a good week. We'll be going for another hour or so here as well. And MDKN says, I can't confirm, Matt. That channel is still up in your recommended tab. Thanks for checking, MDKN. Yeah, so it's there, and I have a bunch of content for anyone that would like to see that stuff from a few years back. It'll be on there still, and I may try and do something on there a little bit over the winter. We'll see if I have the time, but Luke says, saw your extreme contact review. I was thinking with going with those or getting the Pirelli P0 Neros for my 2018 Mustang GT. Never had complaints with the P0s, but just wanted to switch it up. Yeah, I'm glad you like the video. It's the P0s. I think I've not only myself, but I think I've heard the most complaints about that tire than any other tire. I've seen so many wrecked Mustangs just because they're just garbage all season tires typically. That just I'm glad you didn't have any complaints with them, but man, I didn't like them. Most other people didn't seem to love them. I think getting anything other than the P0s will be a great improvement, and you'll probably be shocked at just how much better gripping other tires are, to be totally honest. But yeah, they are, especially when things get cold or wet, P0s are not very good. Justin's asking, is the Bullitt still for sale? It is not. So I've decided to keep the Bullitt for at least probably the next 6 months or so. We will see. So yeah, it's that's something. Yeah, we'll see how the channel does and how things go here over the next 6 months over the winter and stuff. But for now, I just got the Continentals on, and I'm going to be doing a few videos here with the tires over the next 6 months. And then once I'm done doing that, then I will reconsider with the Bullitt again, depending on how money's going for me and how the channel's doing and stuff, as far as whether again I can justify keeping the Bullitt around still, or whether it makes more sense to sell it off. But I'm hoping to keep it. I don't want to sell it. It's just one of those things that I may have to do depending on how things go. And Mike says, I think it's annoying how basically not a single performance car comes with a 45 sidewall. 40 and under just scares me with potholes. Yeah, well, knock on wood, the Bullitt has 40s. That's a pretty meaty sidewall, especially these days, and at least as far as 19s go. And it's been okay. The sidewall hasn't been the problem. The two flats I've gotten were just nails, right in the middle of the tire. But I can certainly appreciate that. I mean, as long as you're not getting a performance car with enormous brakes, you can always downgrade wheels to a smaller size and get that bigger sidewall. And that's something that's really been, popular with some people for sure. So that's something you could do. And then you have an awesome, unique look. And I think cars actually look really cool with a nice fat sidewall on them still. So I'm right there with you in the big sidewall gang. MDCan is okay, responding to Luke here. Rafi says, yeah, I feel like Pirelli is just a fancy name. Continentals and Michelin is the way to go. I agree. And ICG is also asking, what's your favorite tire? So far, I'm really liking these Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06 Plus. But I love the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S that I had too. They were really good tires. I think they're, in my reviewing experience, those tires are some of the best. So I'd say that's still probably my favorite summer tire. I've not driven some of the other summer tire competitors to really give a good comparison, but in my experience, I've always been the most impressed with the Michelins typically. But we will see. These Continentals are great so far on the Bullitt, and I'm curious to see how they, age as I finally get them broken in and, live through all 4 seasons with them. It'll be very interesting to see, how I land on those and what they end up being. Let me see though. So Rafi says, no, don't sell the Bullitt. What could you get instead for the value? I mean, it's still to me like it's my perfect car. I don't want to sell it. It's just, it's just a lot of equity. If the Bullitt was actually worthless, it'd be a whole lot easier to hold on to it. The problem with the Bullitt, ironically enough, is that it is still so valuable that, especially these days, that much equity just either slowly depreciating or not making me money when, that chunk of change with the interest rates the way they are these days and stuff could be, put to work in a lot of a better way than sitting in my garage. I mean, that car sits sometimes for 2 months at a time because I have press vehicles and I'm driving them nonstop and I don't have time to drive the Bullitt for fun. My life is so insanely busy right now. I don't have free time to drive for fun. So it's just tough. And so it's just like, do I keep this car that, it's just a $42,000 paperweight in my garage that actually bums me out half the time because I'm like, man, it looks so awesome. I wish I had time to drive it, but I'm just like running past it as I'm going back and forth in the press cars, or I'm hopping into the Mach-E to, take the family somewhere or something. There's just like, So it's just, that's the problem, is I don't get enough use out of it most of the time, and it's worth so much. So those were the reasons why I was considering selling it. But like I said, I'm going to try and put the Bullitt to work a little more here now that it's got all seasons on it. I can drive it in a little more crappy weather, and I can, I do the new Continental videos here on it and see if that justifies it, and to see if I can just try and come up with some other Bullitt content to kind of have that car earn its keep, so to speak. But we will see, because obviously the popular YouTuber thing is, buying a car and keeping it for 5.5 years is the absolute worst thing you can do. Like, I should be flipping cars every year like everybody else does, so maybe that would be the better way. I know that would be the better way to do it, and use that equity. If I'm not going to put it into investments, use that equity to go buy something else that's the hot new car this year that I don't actually care that much about, but I buy because it's going to get views like all the other YouTubers do, who don't actually care about half these cars they buy. They just buy because it's the hot thing, and then they flip it, a year later, and move on to the next thing. So I'm too sentimental. I'm not cold-hearted enough to just be like, oh, I'm just going to flip cars every year and just like not give a crap. I know that's like, some people are just like, well, this is my job, this is my tool, and that's it. But like, I really get invested emotionally in my cars when I buy them. So for me, it's really tough for me to be so cold-hearted to just like trash a car and then flip it a year later and do a million mods that, turn it into some undrivable, insane, monstrosity. Like, I can't bring myself to do that for some reason. So yeah, anyway, random tangent there. But MD Can says, I got 35 profiles on my Kona N, closing in on 6 months, and haven't had any problems, knock on wood. That's great. I'm glad that your tires have been doing well too. Austin says, I agree, Matt should keep a Bullitt for life. I'm right there with you. That's what I want to do. Luke says, yeah, for sure. I've seen nonstop complaints on the P-Zeros, but was surprised since I didn't have any issues. Even in grip in the rain was good for me. Maybe once I switch, I'll notice. Maybe, but it's, everyone has different driving circumstances, and it depends on where you live and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of different things that play into people's experiences. So it might just be that they work for your environment and your driving style and all that, and so that's great. Let me see. Rafi says, I get it. I feel that way when gas shut up for the first time last year. I almost got rid of my FK8. I'm definitely glad I still have it. 78,000 miles and still going strong. That's awesome. I'm glad you drove it so much too. That's so cool that you're racking up the miles on it there. Austin says, Matt, you should do reaction videos to other YouTubers' car reviews. That's a funny idea. Yeah, that's, I'm friends with most of the car reviewers out there. So, it could be an encouraging thing for sure. But I feel like for it to truly get a bunch of views, it would have to have some snark or some critique. And then that could start some beef if it was, if I was doing stuff like that. So another very good idea, but I think that one might be a little risky for me. Let me see. MDKN says, okay, Jeffrey's comments here. Jeffrey says, I'm heartbroken, Matt. You skipped my comment. Do I have to be a member? If so, I will do it immediately. Sorry, Jeffrey. I just have to give priority answering to anyone who's a member, because it's just they're paying, they're supporting the channel. And I saw someone else was also complaining about this. It's only fair to give priority answering to people that are actually paying. Because imagine if you paid and then I ignored you to answer someone who's not paying. It's just, I'd love to be able to answer everyone's questions, but as we see here, I can't keep up with all the questions, and I have to respect and give that special treatment to those people that are paying for it. And so apologize that I can't get to all the questions here. I don't see your original question, Jeffrey. Let me see if I can quickly find it here. Yeah, I'm not seeing it here, but I'll try and get to it. If anyone in the future too, if you aren't a member and you want to try and ask a question and get it answered, the better bet for anyone that's still here is by the end of these live streams, I typically have caught up with most of the member questions. It calms down a little bit with the comment section, and I can get to some of those questions a little bit better towards the end. So in the future, if you want to get a question answered, maybe, don't tune in until the last half an hour or 15 minutes or something. And, maybe if I've caught up on stuff, you might have a little bit better luck there, but there's no way I can get to everyone's comments. And I have to, again, just give the extra thanks to those who do the memberships. And let me see though, other member questions. Rafi says, I just do it. I'm a year in and still going strong. Oh, as far as the membership thing. Yeah. And I mean, it's not that I want to have people have to, pay to get an answer. It's just that, again, I need to make sure that I'm giving those people, the value that they need to get out of the memberships. Yeah, and Rafi's, I appreciate the tips there. So Jeffrey says, no problem, my friend. I will continue to watch all your videos and become a member. I appreciate that, Jeffrey. Again, feel free to ask your question. I will definitely try and keep an eye out for it here going forward. And Fukal says, just hang around and catch a gifted membership. I started out this way. That's another great, there's so many people that are generously gifting memberships as well. And that's always a great way to, get your questions answered. And also, I mean, I usually say this towards the end too, but also, I do a really good job, I feel like, compared to most other YouTubers as far as answering questions that are sent to me either with comments or I also answer a lot of questions on Facebook Messenger. So if you go to the Facebook page for this YouTube channel, Matt Maran Motoring on Facebook, send me a message there. I'll be more than happy to chat with you about whatever questions you have. I'm always happy to help people figure out what cars they should buy, any questions they have at all. I'm really good about it. Sometimes it takes me a day or two, but I always answer all the questions on there. So I never want to shortchange anyone or feel like anyone gets ignored, or I don't want to answer questions. I'm always happy to answer all questions. I feel like, again, I do a really good job. I spend a lot of time answering comments and videos and messages. So I pride myself on really being good at that. So feel free to definitely try and reach out. It just might be the live stream is not the best way to do that sometimes. Let me see. MD Can says, yeah, just don't be like that guy earlier asking the same question 13 times. Yeah. MD Can, thank you for gifting 5 memberships there. That's the other way. So, and make sure you have your gifting on, guys, if you want to grab those memberships there. And I see G saying, Matt, new M2 or old one? It's an easy short question. I mean, that's really, I could go for 10 minutes on that question, but I mean, to give a short answer, personally, I think I like the character of the old M2 slightly better, but the new M2 is a better car in most ways. So again, this is a long answer I could unpack for a while. It'll come down to your preferences, what you like about the M2, where you're coming from as far as, what kind of driving experience you would appreciate. Would you like something smaller and lighter? You want something bigger and heavier, but also faster? Do you like high-tech stuff? Do you not like high-tech stuff? There's a lot of, do you want something that's more approachable with a lower limit, which is the old M2? Do you like something with higher limits and you want to have the most grip possible? Or do you just want something silly? There's a lot there to toss around. So it's not an easy binary question for me. It's a kind of nuanced thing. Of most of my answers to, is this car or that car better? I'm always I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all answer. That's one thing I do with my reviews. With comparisons, I don't do rankings. I don't say this car is a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 or whatever. Just because I like a car better doesn't mean you're going to like it. It's not going to mean it's going to always fit everyone's circumstances perfectly. So in my opinion, it's about really drilling down what you need out of a car, what will fit you the best, what you like. And that's definitely not the same answer for everyone. It's not the same answer for anyone, honestly. So, it's the great thing about the car world. Lots of choices, lots of great things to fit exactly what you want. And that's the goal of this channel, is to help you find exactly what it is that'll fit what you want to see and what you want to drive and enjoy the best. Let me see. So other questions here. Rafi says, oof, you mean like the guy who was obsessed about asking about the Grand Highlander? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that just clutters up the chat here for sure. MD Can says, well, I appreciate the gifting there. And Fuchs says, better luck next time, Jeffrey. Hopefully Jeffrey had his membership gifting thing on there so he could maybe get the next round at some point. Brian says, my next car may be muscle, but maybe electric muscle, and needs 4 doors. How about you? So I guess Eric's talking about something else as well. I must have missed. So let me continue on here. Fuchs says, I'm curious how YouTube picks the winners. Maybe the amount of time someone joins regular streams or interactions, maybe. I didn't know it was automated. I thought that whenever you do the gifting, you have to like click accept, and the first people that do that are the ones that get it. That's the way I understood it, but maybe not. And I see Brian's thanking MD Can as well. That's awesome. I appreciate everyone helping everyone out there with those memberships. Isaac, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, save the manuals. I agree. Solidarity there. Yeah, that's it's great to see that, like I talked about a few weeks ago in the weekly updates. Seems like the manuals are kind of, leveling off and starting to grow a little bit here. They're not declining like they used to with their popularity. And so hopefully we see the manuals continue to carve out a slightly larger niche for themselves little by little here. And Justin said, I got gifted a membership for a live stream that I missed. LOL, it's random. Interesting. Okay. That's fascinating. I didn't know it was like that. Austin says, hey, Matt, do you think we will ever see a retro trend again where new electric cars are modeled after vintage gas-powered ones, or would that be too aerodynamically prohibitive? I think, the aerodynamics, that's probably going to limit how far they could go with a retro thing. But I mean, you look at the Hummer and stuff, for example, where you can just throw the aerodynamics out the window, and some people are okay with that in their EVs, So I think there's certainly, probably going to be a lot that still just don't care about the aero, and they go for whatever look they need to go for. I think, what we're starting to see a little bit of is, like, for example, the new Mini Cooper EV. They're going to have I think it's one of the drive modes. I can't remember which one. One of the drive modes gives you like a blend of sounds from a vintage Mini. And that'll be really cool. And there's one other one too that does the same kind of thing where they're like going to bring in old car sounds. And that's the great thing with EVs is, it's whatever you want to play through the speakers. And so it can be really fun if you open it up and, you have it be whatever you want it to be. It could be crazy. And I think that'll be potentially fun if you're okay with that kind of stuff. I know a lot of people that just makes them want to scream, but I think, I'm excited about something like that. And I think that'll be, a fun way to bring it in. But I think the styling wise, look at everything, retro cycling back through. It was so funny. I was in Target yesterday and I saw, someone wearing like super baggy jeans. And I'm like, man, am I back in 2003 again? Did we go back like 20 years? But that's the trend now. There's no way I could have predicted that. I guess I should have predicted, but it's just like so funny. And so, styling with cars is just like fashion. And we're seeing kind of retro styling already with a lot of the EVs. What was the hot thing 20, 30 years ago, probably 30 or 40 years ago, I guess at this point? Digital gauges. Look at the stuff from the 80s. Digital gauges, turbos, and full width taillights, and full width headlights, even with some of the stuff back then. That was all trendy, hot stuff. And here we are. And this is futuristic. No, it's not. It's 40 years old, but it's futuristic with the marketing, and they're obviously doing it in a more futuristic way now. But like, this has been done before. Full width taillights have been done before. Like, full width headlights have been done before. Digital gauges have been done before. And then guess what? Everyone got sick of them, and everyone wanted analog gauges again. Will we see that come back, or is this stuff here to stay? We'll see. I think now that, the LCD panels have gotten so cheap, it's easier to do the digital gauges than it was back then when you actually had to be creative with them. So I think, and also it's a cost savings thing now. So I feel like the digital gauges, for example, might be here to stay. But again, if there's a large enough amount of people that are like, I'm tired of all this digital stuff, I want to go back to knobs and switches and analog gauges, which is what happened in the 90s and, into the 2000s there, then, you may see that whole thing just reverse right back to where it started, So we'll see. But if you're into history of cars, again, you've seen a lot of this stuff before, regardless of what it is we're talking about. Even electric cars were the cool new it thing 100 years ago, and it had some buzz, and then it died off. Obviously, this time I think there's more to it than there was 100 years ago, and the technology and stuff is so much better. But that's why Rolls-Royce is getting into electric stuff with the Spectre, because the one founder of Rolls-Royce said like 100 years ago, like, this is the best thing ever. Like, the electric Rolls-Royce is the ultimate Rolls-Royce. Like, that was the consensus 100 years ago, but then they had to go and, go down their gas-powered road and just go with the flow of what everyone else was going with. but it's like now the market conditions are right that, we can actually do this again and get back to honestly like what the Rolls-Royce founders probably thought we should have been doing for the past 100 years, at least as far as their cars are concerned. So it's kind of interesting how, everything's kind of coming back around again. So yeah, it's very fascinating. Anyway, another random tangent there, but Steve says, I've bought new manuals where I could, but I just bought a manual 2005 Suzuki Aereo for Rallycross next year. That's awesome. I haven't seen one of those in forever. I had a few neighbors actually that owned those over the years, and so I saw a bunch of them for a while, and then they just like vanished. All of them vanished all at the same time. But that's awesome. I hope it treats you well. This will be a fun little rallycrosser for sure. And Fuchs says, I was at work when I got an email about a membership before, so who knows? That is bizarre. I thought you at least had to be present in the live stream. That is, wow. I should actually ask YouTube then. Because, yeah, they have like a channel where you can like ask questions and stuff. I should totally ask them how that actually plays out then. That's fascinating. I appreciate you guys letting me know about that. That's interesting. And Brian says, hey Matt, would love to see some car industry content such as deals out there, rebates and such, maybe even numbers on sales volumes and other nerdy data. That's something I would be curious to dig into as well. It's again just the time thing. Again, there's so many good ideas. I appreciate all of them. It just would be any new thing I would add would have to come at the expense of something else. So it'd either be getting rid of the weekly updates, doing one car review a week instead of two, things like that. The problem with those things, the industry content is it's again very quick burn. It's the news of the month and then it goes away. So I'm really trying to focus on building evergreen stuff more and more, and so that's why I really feel like leading into not only just reviews but also used reviews is hopefully the way to help me again rise above the competition a little bit, or at least carve out different competition for myself than the niche of just new car stuff, which is just so bombarded with a million reviews now. It's just so tough to stand out, even for me. So but yeah, it's a great idea for sure, Brian. I appreciate that. And yeah, I like looking at that stuff every month. So it's something I quickly read an article every month and then I move on. But it'd be cool to be able to, discuss that and do videos about that stuff. Maybe someday we'll see. Dave says, I think Dodge was going to do retro sounds. Maybe they were. I thought Dodge was, they were going to do like gas inspired sounds, but I didn't hear about any retro stuff from them, but that would be great if they did for sure. And let me see. Okay, so I think we caught up on the member questions here, so I can do some other questions. Bruce says, how often do you get compliments on the Bullitt? Not as often as I used to. The first year or two when it was new and people weren't used to seeing them, I got a lot. But these days, every once in a while, there'll be someone that, notices it and likes it. But I think it really flies under the radar, being dark green, not having any badges. So there's not too many. The last one was pretty recently. I was doing a curbside Target pickup a few weeks back, and the kid that brought out my bag was like really impressed by it and was like asking me like, "This is a Mustang?" And like he just didn't know anything about them or anything, but he was really interested in it. I was kind of surprised because it was filthy and again, doesn't really stand out these days, but he was really into it. So that was a fun surprise because, like I said, I'm not used to getting compliments about it anymore, really. And Cars and Relevant Spec says official YouTube, what the YouTube says is gift memberships. It's announced in the live chat. If you've been selected to get a 1-month membership, a notification will surface in the live chat and will send you an email. So they do email you, but then it just, okay. So I still don't know how they choose that though. But I appreciate you chiming in with the official answer there. That I got to figure out still how they do that. Austin says, hey Matt, any new merchandise in the pipeline? No new merch in the pipeline. There's some stuff that I probably could do as far as like general stuff, like a Save the Manual shirt or something, even though I'm sure there's a million of those out there, but I'm not a graphic designer. That'd be something I have to pay someone to do some new designs for stuff. I don't know. For me, like I don't sell very much merch at all. Like I maybe sell 1 or 2 things a month at this point. If that, some months I don't sell anything at all probably, but I don't know if it's because I don't do like new designs. I kind of just do it as a way for people to also support the channel and have the branding there if they want to promote the channel and stuff like that. But I don't know if it would, if I did new designs of the existing stuff, like a new backroad shirt or something, if that would actually, intrigue anyone or not. I'd be curious to hear if any of you will be interested in new designs for merch. But as far as obviously the logo and stuff, I'm not going to change that anytime soon. So it's just a matter of doing different things that aren't the logo. But I have nothing planned currently. And MD Kansas, I definitely give you a couple more, but I have no room in my closet. I appreciate the offer there. And I totally agree with you on that. My closet is stuffed as well. And Tom says you also have to enable being able to receive gifts. The setting pops up when someone sends gifts. Yeah, I know you definitely need to enable it for sure. Frosty Johnson says, Matt, I recently got a Honda Accord Touring as a rental car. The car is super nice on the inside. However, I can't stand the way it looks. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it's blending in really well, and it seems like the sales are really good for it. So I think Honda made the right decision again from a mainstream standpoint. Like the Accord is like styling wise is like what like a successful car review YouTube channel needs to be. It's like, mass appeal, and just doing something that is good and well done, which the Accord is, but not rocking the boat too much, but just having that broad appeal. I think they really nailed it with the new Accord for that reason. Let me see here. So Ninjas Are Real says my 24 ZL1 order arrived at my dealer this weekend. Had a 2018, kept it 4 years before selling it. I decided to get a final one because there definitely aren't going to be any more manual stick 7th gen all gas V8 Camaros. It's done so. Yeah. Seems to be that way. So, I mean, that was a smart choice for sure. And I mean, probably going to be a very collectible car. And I'm glad to see that it actually got built because I think I heard some other people saying that they weren't getting their Camaros built. So I'm glad that yours actually came through there. And especially if it's actually a 24 model year, then you got a collectible there. Because they're not building very many 24s. So that'll be a good investment. I mean, hopefully you get to drive it and enjoy it as well. But swapping a 2018 for a 24 is going to be just a good investment overall. Even if it's the same exact car, just getting that last model year is instantly going to make it more collectible. So that was a good move, and glad to see it came in. Hopefully you enjoy it, and congrats on getting another Camaro there. They are such good cars. Scott says, hi, Matt. It's Scott from Australia. I'm hearing the 6.1 Hemi has problems with the roller lifters chewing out cams. Do I have anything to worry about? I know nothing about those motors, unfortunately. I wish I could help you. I know absolutely nothing about them. So I can't help you out there, but I hope it does okay for you. If there's Facebook groups for that engine or that car, forums, things like that, I'll definitely help you. There might also be YouTube channels that cover that are experts in that engine, but I don't have any info for you. I apologize. Luke says, still really tempted to find a SS1LE, but unfortunately they're still a bit overpriced for me, around 46 grand for 20 to 30,000 miles. Okay, so I guess maybe some people are already catching on to the fact that they're going to be collectible, and so they're not depreciating anymore. Interesting. Well, that's a bummer that they're getting so pricey. I guess you can say 46 grand still way cheaper than a Mustang Dark Horse, right? So it's all relative, I guess. And let me see, get back to some other questions I might have missed earlier here. And let me see. So Larry Horse says, do you think that Ford will make an S650 Bullitt? I don't think they will. It seems like they are tossing away all the heritage stuff with the Mustang. The interior doesn't have any heritage stuff anymore, aside from the Fox body digital gauges, I guess. This new Dark Horse is clearly a Mach 1. Like, it's the Mach 1 just with, the new intake setup and obviously the new exterior and interior. But as far as like mechanically, it's basically a Mach 1, but they decided not to go the retro route and instead do the Dark Horse thing and do something new. So, to me, that tells me that if they can't even be bothered to do a Mach 1, if you see any kind of nostalgic stuff for the S650, it's going to be Fox body based. My top bet is they're going to do a new SVO with the EcoBoost, since there's no manual EcoBoost for the S650, but we know that they have it in the parts bin. And that would help their cafe numbers if they can tease a few people out of a V8, or a few people just to buy a 4-cylinder one and help them with their fuel economy averages. I think an SVO, again, you're talking about Fox body generation, with the Fox body gauges and stuff. I think they could really have a field day with an SVO for the new S650s. That would be my bet if you're talking about old styles. For me, so S650 Bullitt, if they do an S650 Bullitt, most likely they will probably wait until the next anniversary, which would be the 70th anniversary or 60th anniversary. Right? Or wait a minute. Yeah. 60th anniversary, which would be 2028. By 2028, the amount of people, and I mean, every generation of Bullitt, they've said this, oh, no one knows who Steve McQueen is. No one knows who, what the Bullitt movie is, and no one likes the Bullitt movie or whatever, and there's always been that thing. But I think that really by the time you're getting to 2028, I mean, you're really getting to a point where a lot of those boomers are not buying those anymore. And let's be honest, boomers are probably the biggest buyers of the Bullitts. You're going to be kind of aging out at that point for them. And then, are those buyers, are those, older buyers going to want these huge screens and everything being digitized? I don't think it's going to jive. So I personally think the S550 was the last generation of it. We will see. I could be wrong. If they did do one, I wouldn't be interested in it because I hate the interior in the new Mustangs. So to me, it'd be a non-starter. I would be, unless they completely redid the S650 and made it look like a 68 Mustang. That'd be the only way they'd get me out of my Bullitt. Basically, if they did the S197 but modern, then I would probably go for that. But aside from that, no, there's no way I'd be interested in it personally. Anyway, getting back to the other member questions here. Let me see. So MDKN says he could have sworn that one of these were down to the mid to high 30s. Austin says, hey Matt, would you ever buy a car sight unseen from auction sites like Cars and Bids or bring a trailer? Totally. I think if you have enough pictures, I mean, I'm not super OCD about like cars being perfect. Like I have people that I know that will take a mirror under their car and they'll, search every square inch of it and everything. I'm fine with it. I think, mechanically it'd be the big issue for me, but I think, with YouTube videos and stuff now, if they do like a video test drive of it, so you can, listen for any weird sounds or, see if there's any weird behavior. I wouldn't hesitate. I totally would buy from an auction site. I've never needed to or been in that kind of a position, but if I had the money to bid on cars, totally, I would love to bid on some stuff and bring a trailer. And Goth Rocker says EVs weigh so much, aerodynamics really don't matter all that much. Aero helps, but battery weight is also so heavy that is the efficiency issue. There's definitely some issues there, but I think some of these car designers have said that's one of the reasons why they think sedans may make a comeback, at least in some form, is that SUVs are never going to have as good of aerodynamics as a car. It's higher up, it's just blockier, it's higher. That's always going to be worse for aerodynamics. So that's why, they're thinking, maybe sedans will come back. And this is why you're seeing like the Ioniq 6 being shaped the way that it is for maximum aero. So I think that there is still going to be a lot of effort put into aero. Especially as batteries evolve and batteries are going to get smaller and lighter. And we're already seeing that, already, and it's just going to keep evolving even faster here. So I think, aerodynamics will continue to be one of the real king things going forward for EVs still. And Luke says, I did test drive a 2SS Hendrix Motorsports Camaro SS modified Hertz Camaro. It was just night and day from my Mustang. Of course, the handling was very nice. Yeah, they're very different driving experiences, but I mean, yeah, the handling of the Camaro is just so good. So yeah, we're talking. I see the discussion about the LT1s. Golf Harker says, Matt, really enjoyed the Mach 1 review. I didn't get to leave a comment, but great review. That is the best Mustang, classic, modern, but yet retro and the right amount of power. Totally agree. I love the Mach 1s too. I'm glad you like the video. MD Can says that'd be a cool trend to pop up. New cars with retro equipment, classic radios and gauges, manual seats, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see that, and could also be a great way to bring down the pricing on some of that stuff too. Fuchs says, would you ever or what would your opinion be if Ford ever came out with a four-door Mustang like how the Charger became one? Honestly, a four-door Mustang would have annoyed me less than the Mach-E, which I know again is hilarious because I own a Mach-E. But I think I wouldn't have had a problem with a four-door Mustang, and I still wouldn't have a problem if they come out with one. If it's especially, I mean, this is probably far-fetched now, but the rumors way back when that never turned out to be true were that there could actually be a manual V8 one with rear-wheel drive. That would, if they stick to the Mustang formula and they actually competed with the Charger, that would have been awesome. I would have totally been up for that, for sure. So I would love to see them do that again someday, and maybe that would be something they could add if they still want to expand the Mustang brand. We will see. S650 would have been the prime time to do that, though, and introduce something new alongside that, and they didn't. So, we'll see if they ever end up doing something like that or what ends up happening. But I think Ford, now that they've seen Dodge and Chevy drop out of the race, it's just keep that two-door around. They got the market all to themselves now. They can do whatever they want, and there's no need to compete or innovate or anything. And so they're just kind of cruising on easy street now with the Mustang, I think. Goth Rocker says, Matt, I'm with you. Very sad about the F-Type going away. I really always loved that car. I've thought about buying a certified one, but I know they are really expensive car to maintain. They I'm sure are expensive to maintain. I just say get it with an extended warranty and then enjoy the exhaust sound until the car stops running, which might be sooner rather than later. But I think, I'd love an F-Type someday still. And Rafi says he's still on board with the Matt Moran branded cars. That'd be funny. On past live streams, we talked about how no one does a cheap car anymore, and how I would be fine just building a car with roll-up windows and like no power locks, like a true like 90s basic car again. And it'd be fun to do that if I ever somehow had the means to start a car company. Austin says, hey, Matt, what is the best way to help the algorithm for the channel? I know like, subscribe, comment, but do numerous comments on the same video help as well? Only if they're legitimate replies. YouTube's pretty smart about picking up on like spamming stuff. And even like, that's why like, if you even like rewatch a video multiple times, like they can figure out when you're starting to like try and game the system. Like if you're actually like watching half the video and then you come back and watch the other half, like that still counts. Like they still understand like you're a real viewer legitimately sitting through this. But if it's, people, I mean, way back when I knew people who could try to game the system of just like refreshing the page and just like having, bots essentially running, just refreshing videos, and that all counted and was like, actually worked back then. That doesn't work anymore because they track your IP address and all that, So as far as your question, the best way to help the algorithm, so I think what I've seen recently is, people are saying, if you can, I mean, watch the video however you can watch it, but it seems like it is helpful if you watch the video from either the YouTube homepage or from your recommendations section. So if the video does happen to pop up in those sections, watch it there. Don't go to your sub feed and then click on it. I mean, I'm sure most people are just like, oh, I want to watch that. They just click and it just works out that way. But if you're someone who, for example, just goes straight to your sub feed and you completely bypass the YouTube homepage, or you never look at your recommendations or something, that could be a potential way, because it seems like if YouTube sees, oh, look, we've put this on the homepage and people are responding more than normal, or we put this in the recommendations and people are responding, we should recommend it to more people. Those two things then push it out to more people in a larger manner, I think, than just you going to your sub feed or you getting a notification, even though I think notifications are great because you don't miss videos and stuff. But, I think those ways, like they know those people are going to watch no matter what. And like, if people watch it in the sub feed, then maybe they'll push it to more subscribers. But it seems like the effect of that is more limited than the homepage and the recommendations pages being the king as far as, the ways to push stuff. So, but it's really, I think it just comes down to the more engaged you are, the better. So if they are, seeing that you're liking, you're commenting, you're sharing the video too, that can also be another way. If they start to see a lot of external traffic, that could potentially be like a good sign for them, because they're like, oh, look, like this video is not only is it getting people on YouTube excited, but this video is bringing new people from Facebook or from Google or whatever onto YouTube. And then like that's just dollar signs for YouTube. And they're excited because if this video is getting people to come to YouTube and then hopefully keep them in YouTube, then that is also a valuable thing as well. So, so YouTube does emphasize shares. Now, obviously, don't annoy everyone with sharing videos or anything. But if there's someone like, hey, this is a cool video, maybe my buddy would like this. Like that kind of thing can also potentially help a little bit. But I think really it still just comes down to like, comment, and subscribe, and just watching the videos. I think that view count still really makes a lot of a difference. Why does Mr. Beast keep getting recommendations? Because he gets a lot of engagement, but also just because the videos just continue to get more and more views, and it's just this viral nature. And so, if you just click it, it just helps. And so I think what I've even said to some people, I've heard other YouTubers say this as well, is even if you have zero interest in the video, if you want to help the channel, click the video, mute it, and let it run in the background. And, then it's like, oh, this person watched this entire video, they loved it. And then that helps to recommend it to others. So that's the other thing is, just the view duration. People a lot of times just don't want to sit through a whole video. I don't often sit through an entire video either, but that is another thing is they see you're really engaged if you're watching the entire video all the way through. And so, even if you just mute it from the point where you're bored or you're done watching, if you mute it and let the rest of it run through, that potentially helps as well. Because if they see everyone watching it a lot, then that also makes them want to push that more. So those are the only other things that I know of. There might be other things out there that others have picked up on, but that's, as far as my knowledge goes, that's the best way to help. And I appreciate you asking the question there, Austin. Any kind of engagement definitely helps though. But more engagement through comments. Ruffy's asking, yeah, I think comments, if you're responding to other people and there's like actual conversation going on there, that could certainly help. But I think there's a limit to how much. But I think that certainly does help. Yeah, it's one of the components for sure. And Gothwalker says, yes, YouTube knows if you watch it back to back, they do know. Yep, they track all that stuff really well. Let me see other questions here. So, all right, I think I've done a good job of keeping up with most of them. I can go back to some of the older questions here if those people are still hanging around watching here. Let me see. Harpy saying, hi, I've been following you since the Subaru fan days. I appreciate you following along all these years. Harpy says, since you did a review of this CRZ, is when I first started watching, it's when I bought. That's awesome. You bought a CRZ. I'm curious to hear if you continue to drive your CRV since then, or if it's gone on to another owner. But CRZ is a really cool car. I wouldn't mind revisiting that one. A manual hybrid, such a rare thing that I don't really think is out there at all these days, and hasn't been for a long time. So it'd be awesome to try that again. But glad hopefully you enjoyed your CRZ. Hopefully it treated you well. And yeah, that was one of my early reviews. So you've been with me almost the whole time there. Really appreciate it, Harpy. Let me see. Tig Boss says, what are your thoughts on the 350Z as a first car, and how's the reliability of it? Many thanks for educating us about cars. Well, thanks for watching. Thoughts on 350Z? I love the 350Z. I did a review on one many years ago. As far as a first car goes, I think that it could be tricky. I think you have to just respect the car and, really be careful, especially in the first, few months of driving as far as rear-wheel drive driving dynamics, because that is a car that gets a little bit snappy with the back end and can step out on you unexpectedly a little bit if you're not, if, you don't have good tires, or if you're, on wet surfaces and stuff. I mean, I remember even 370 was even more twitchy, I think, honestly, but they're a car that can bite back. So I would just say, definitely take it easy. And if you can, either do, some type of autocross event to kind of learn the car's limits, or just go to an abandoned parking lot legally somewhere and, try and figure out where your limits are, where the car snaps, where it, reacts, especially with whatever tires it has on it, which can change that character completely. I think that that's probably the best way to go, but I think it could be a good first car. Just, you gotta be careful with that one, I think. But best of luck if you go after one. I think they're tons of fun though. They sound great. They look great. love 350Zs for sure. Tom, thanks so much for the super chat. It says, hey Matt, have you ever thought of watching videos with your viewers? Viewers can request car-related videos for you to stream and react to. That's a cool idea. Technically, I guess I can do that. I guess I'd fall into the reaction thing again. I just have to figure out copyright stuff as far as whether that's like okay to do. It's a fun idea though. That'd be cool because I don't get a chance to watch very many YouTube videos. It'd be fun to be like, hey, look, I've been wanting to watch this Savage Geese video for months, and I can finally sit down and watch it, or some new debut, watch it with you guys. That would be fun. I'd love to do that. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I've never thought of doing that, to be totally honest. I just, again, trying to figure out the reaction stuff as far as legally what I can do, what I could like rebroadcast, and still monetize and all that. That's the only part of it. But maybe if it's like on TikTok or something where copyright's like non-existent, maybe something like that, I could, just do something on there or somewhere else could potentially work. But that's an interesting idea. I'll have to noodle that one over a little more here and see if there's a way I could do that. That'd be fun. Let me see. So, Goth Rocker also says, Matt, I have the Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06. Got them back on my Subaru and Suzuki back in 2020. Excellent tires. I'm glad you're liking them. I got so much great feedback on that video, even though that video got like no views. I got so many good comments, and a lot of people really seem to love those tires. So it made me really happy about my decision to get those. It seems like I'm joining the crowd that really loves them, and I'm glad that it seems like it's a very popular tire. I'm glad they treated you well too, Goth Rocker. And Rafi says they should bring back the manual CRZs. I totally agree. I think Honda would do really well to bring back a bunch of their stuff. I think a few people in the last live stream were talking about the Element. Bringing that back would make a lot of sense. CRZ would make a lot of sense. Even the Insight as like a real dedicated Prius competitor would have been great too. So many cool historical Hondas. I'd love to see the Prelude come back. Man, I just could go on and on. And even, CRX also would be Del Sol. Basically every old Honda they should bring back in my mind. I think it'd be so fun. Rafi says, yeah, a Z for a first car is definitely risky. I'd be super cautious. Driving school. Yeah, driving school would be great if you can do that. Learn rear-wheel drive driving dynamics and then go from there. If you are looking also, I'm not sure if they're even still in here, but really, in my opinion, maybe it's just because I cut my teeth on it, but I really think the BRZ and the FRS and the last gen, GT86 are really good cars because you don't have a ton of grip, but it doesn't bite back and it's not as fast and it's not as tricky to manage as a 350Z. And I think that the BRZ is just a great gateway car to rear-wheel drive. And then you can graduate up to the Mustangs and stuff like that if you want, like I did, or 350s or whatever, something faster, more powerful and snappier. But I feel like the BRZ is such a safe rear-wheel drive car, and it really is a good car for cutting your teeth on. Let me see. Austin says vintage car commercial reactions would be awesome. Start with the 84 Corvette one. That'd be fun. Yeah, I love watching vintage car commercials. It's hilarious, and that'd be so fun. That'd be really fun to do something like that for sure. That might be a little easier from a copyright standpoint too. I don't know, but MG Channel says, "Hey Matt, have you seen any 24 Mustangs on the road? Randomly, I sat in one, and you were right. The interior is a downgrade from the S550. I don't think I've actually sat in the S650 yet." But I've been like right next to it at the auto show. I just didn't get to sit in it. But as far as seeing them on the road, I saw a car carrier loaded up with them probably about a month and a half ago or so. And I have not seen one on the road yet. I haven't seen one at a dealer yet either. So yeah, I haven't seen any, but it seems like some of the other people out there have been seeing. I've been seeing some comments about that, but haven't seen any myself. So I'm hoping someone buys one and offers it to me so that I can actually review a 24 Mustang before like 2025, which will probably be when I ever get one in the press fleet, if they even send one at all. They're so slow to send Fords to me. Let me see. So I see Maran saying thank you to MD Can for the gift there. Yeah, thanks so much for those gifts once again. And Fuchs says, let's watch Doug DeMuro. We want to see the eyes roll. I'm going to just leave a no comment on that one. But yeah, just leave that one there. And also, the Trent Car guy says also drift tax is a thing, so it may be hard to get a solid one for a reasonable price. That's true as far as the 350. Yeah, they are. They're probably not going to depreciate much more. I think they're only going to go up from here, especially the decent ones that haven't been sent to hell and back. Let me see other questions here. So Austin says, thanks for another great live, Matt. You really go above and beyond to connect with your subscribers and viewers. Thanks, Austin. I appreciate it. It's unfortunate to see a few bummed out people here that weren't members, but yeah, I really enjoy these. I think we have a great time here, and so glad to see that so many of you enjoyed as well. Goth Rocker says, speaking of the Z, dealer still has them sitting on the lot, still marked very high, very sad. Yeah, they're doing it to themselves, and Nissan corporate should really be, nailing these people to the wall, these dealers, if if they're upset about it. But clearly Nissan doesn't care, or otherwise they'd try and just dump inventory or something, but it seems like they're not building very many of them, and the dealers are just going to keep being the dealers, because give a deal, I don't want to generalize, but most dealers, you give them that advantage and they will exploit it until the very last minute, and then they start playing victim immediately the second that there's any negotiating going on. Yeah, it's unfortunate though for Nissan. Let me see if I can get to a couple more of the old questions here that I didn't get to before. Jonathan Johnson says, you kill it answering questions and interacting with community on social media, Matt. Keep it up. Second to none. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad you agree. I do feel like I really spend a lot of time answering questions and comments and stuff. And I love just interacting with people. Even sometimes I shouldn't interact with some of the haters that I sometimes get, but even that, I always want to try and have a reasonable debate, and then I'll always just end up falling apart. So even that stuff, I should probably actually answer less comments than I do. Tig says, I still watch your 3Z review sometimes. Best reaction towards the car. It's my dream car. I'll be getting it soon. Well, I hope it treats you well. And yeah, just definitely, try and learn the handling dynamics, and it should be good. Broly says, sold my 22 model year WRX with 16 grand equity. 500 a month in my pocket is great. Wow, that is a lot of equity. Oh, 21 WRX. Still, that is wild. That is, man, I don't know how you pulled that one off. I mean, I guess you just had a huge down payment or something, but that's impressive. Congrats to you on the awesome sale there. Ooh. Your truck says, film the Bullitt doing donuts in an empty parking lot in the snow with a drone. That would be awesome. I would love to get a drone. It's something that makes for some nice shots for sure, but drone laws are also pretty tricky if you actually want to do it legit and not risk getting in trouble. I'm very much a risk averse person, so drones are a little tricky, at least around here. I don't know, maybe it's just PA or something, but a lot of the parks and stuff actually have signs saying no drones by law. So it's a little tricky for me to do drone stuff around here, but it's definitely something I'd love to do. And yeah, doing snow donuts would be fun in the Bullitt. We will see. I may try to do that this year, since I'm going to do a little bit of snow driving with the Continentals and stuff. So there may be a chance for me to do that. We will see if it's the right time of day and I have free time and everything lines up. I may actually be able to make that happen. We'll see. But let me see any other. Okay, there's a few other member questions here saying. Rafi says they'll bring you in and put you in a verse. Yeah, that's it for the Z. They're just Fuchs says, I think both Nissan and the dealers missed the Z by a long shot. Yeah, the whole thing is just sad. The way they marketed it, the way they packaged it, the way they're selling it, the way they're producing it. It's all just big old womp womp. Goth Rocker says, did you already film the Subaru CrossTrek Wilderness? I did not. That review is going to be coming. That'll be later this fall. They'll be sending that one over. Yeah, I'm very curious to try that out. It should be fun. I'm just waiting for Subaru to cover the entire CrossTrek in body cladding and rugged plastic and just get rid of the paint altogether. Because they got like halfway now on the CrossTrek Wilderness. We'll see how much longer it takes to go all the way up to the roof. Because Rock Girl says one of your best old videos is the 2006 Chrysler 300 SRT8. I almost bought one, but wanted the more luxurious, quieter, and sexier Continental. I agree about the Continental definitely being the nicer cruiser there. SRT8 was great. I'm glad you enjoyed that way back when. It was a ton of fun to film that one. And that's still, that video, it is still rocking out. I think that thing's up to like 1.55 million views now or something. And it still gets like, I don't know, 200 views a day or something. It's kind of insane how much staying power that car and that video has. It's just, people are still every day, hundreds of people are looking for reviews of that thing and watching mine for whatever reason. So it's wild. I guess there's a lot of collectability for that car down the road for sure. He says that's a great review. I'm glad you liked it. It was definitely a fun one for sure. Rafi says, I don't know why, but I think one of my favorite videos to watch in the background is the Accord 1.5T manual. Thanks for all your videos. I appreciate that. That was a fun one to film because that one I did a road trip from the New York Auto Show to Pittsburgh in that, and it was just, again, I was so impressed with the handling and everything in that car. It was really good. Just the rev hang. It's the only thing in that car that's a little bit of a letdown. Otherwise, such a good car for sure. But anyway, we're coming up here on 2 hours, so I guess we can sign off here, and hope everyone has a great week, though. Stay tuned for some more good reviews this week. I'm still kind of catching up from the past couple of weeks of not being able to go out and film because I was sick and was recovering from other stuff. So I'm back to being able to film, but I'm a little bit behind the ball here. So that's why I'm going to be rushing to try and film some reviews here for the next few weeks. But I'm going to be getting a bunch of press cars and exciting stuff here going into the fall. And I'm going to have some really fun reviews for you guys and the members. Many of you already know about some of that stuff that's coming. But anyone that's not a member, stay tuned. Lots of fun stuff coming here this fall. But anyway, thanks so much for joining in, everyone. Glad everyone was able to join in and have a good time here. And yeah, I hope you all have a great week. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next live stream next week if you can make it as well. But anyway, yeah, take care and have a great week once again.